But I think, look, left unchecked, humans are going to make virtual reality games where they can just, I'll try not to be crude, but, pleasure themselves.
Oh, no, it's coming. It's absolutely coming. And what are you going to do about that?
And I just think, how much money do we allocate towards curing things like baldness? But baldness isn't the big concern. It's just kind of a funny thing to poke at.
Right.
No, he's a neo-Nazi Hispanic shooter.
Right, but Tim called it a false flag and then corrected himself the next day and then said he thought it was funny after a mass shooting.
I think that
people
someone
were calling
told you
him
to say this and you don't actually know what you're talking about.
I think that it's not shocking that you think that.
You guys are grifters. This is what you do. I can invite you on for a real conversation, and what do? Your show's for neo-Nazis. This is why you guys don't get invited places, because you're not having real conversations.
I don't really care about getting invited places.
Yeah, right. So go live in your grifter echo chamber where you guys can play songs with bad audio and then say, whoopsie.
Tim Pool on his show Timcast showed a wide range of emotions in his debate with the Majority Report's Emma Vigeland. Sadly, with no defense, Pool pivoted to the modern-day attack every conservative goes towards without looking in their own house. Groomers, pedo claims that are unfounded, yada yada. Oddly enough, with Pool interviewing GOP Congressman Jim Jordan, there's a lot that catches the eye. First, Pool is doing an interview in Lauren Boebert's office. This is the same Lauren Boebert who was accused of covering up child abuse in her own house with her now ex-husband in Colorado.
Lauren Bobo's husband whipped out his penis in the middle of a bar to show a 17-year-old his penis tattoo.
Boebert, the God-fearing congresswoman who attacks the LGBTQ plus community for grooming, wants us to forget this. Pool will attack Vigeland unwarranted.
Okay, dude, are you stupid?
In said office, Pool interviewed Jordan, who has a history of his own.
4 former Ohio State wrestlers tell NBC News they were sexually abused by a team doctor. Molested by Dr. Richard Strauss, who they allege inappropriately touched athletes' genitals during routine exams and regularly showered with them in a university facility.
It's public knowledge. I mean, everyone knew within the athletic department that Doc was a serial groper at best.
And who knew this was going on, according to the victims, including ex-athlete Mike DiSabato?
An assistant wrestling coach at the university from 1986 to 1994.
That would be Jim Jordan. DiSabato's brother Adam spoke on it.
Jim Jordan called me crying, groveling on the 4th of July. Begging me to go against my brother. Begging me. Crying for a half hour. That's the kind of cover-ups that's going on there.
Do you believe he knew about this while he was there?
I know Jim knew about what I call the deviant sexual atmosphere that we were exposed to.
How do you know?
Well, we all had conversations. Jim was more like a big brother than a coach.
Jordan denies it, however. Prior to going public, Mr. DiSabato reached out to the Trump-backed member of the House. DiSabato told NBC News Jordan said to him, "Please leave me out of it," asking to not get involved.
And while he was on that coaching staff, the team doctor, a guy named Richard Strauss, sexually abused at least 177 male students, according to an independent investigation conducted by law firm Perkins Coie. Now, the investigation was commissioned after a whistleblower came forward to say he was victimized, a former Ohio State wrestler named Mike DiSabato. Other former students have joined him, and 350 students have now filed suit against the university. Now, the whistleblower and numerous other former wrestlers say that at the time, they told Jim Jordan, among others, what was going on. And they say Jim Jordan turned a blind eye to the systematic sexual abuse happening right under his nose.
But it wasn't just the athletes.
A college wrestling referee says he complained to Ohio State University's wrestling coaches about sexual misconduct by one of the team doctors, but they did nothing about it.
One of the alleged victims was not a student. He was a paid referee. And he said in 1994 and 95, he was refereeing a wrestling match. And that is where Jim Jordan was an assistant coach. And after that, the ref went into the public sauna shower and he saw Dr. Strauss pleasuring himself in front of everybody else right there in front of him. He said something to Dr. Strauss. He walked out of the shower, and according to this accuser, he went to the head coach and the assistant coach, which was Jim Jordan, and said what he just saw in the shower. And the response was, yeah, that's Strauss.
Former Ohio State wrestling coach Russ Hellickson, pictured here, is alleged by another whistleblower, Dunyasha Yates, of pressuring him to recant his statements of abuse at the university. Yates turned over the text to NBC. And now, for Poole and Jordan, it gets worse. The Supreme Court upheld a lower court's ruling, and the case can now go to trial after SCOTUS rejected the school's appeal of the initial decision. The victims' counsel said in a statement, "We look forward to returning to the trial court, having our clients' stories heard, and gathering further evidence of OSU's widespread cover-up of Dr. Strauss's serial predation." The university disagreed with the decision, the same institution that paid out $60 million to 296 victims via settlement, the most recent of which came in July of 2022. Adele Kimmel, a public justice pictured here, would tell NBC, "We plan to depose every OSU employee alleged to have known about Strauss's abuse, including the employees named in the complaints."
And it seems like discovery is going to be pretty unfortunate for Jim Jordan because there are multiple wrestlers, I think even referees, who told Jordan at the time. So it's not just him calling this victim and saying, go against your family, because I could potentially be implicated. He's crying because he knows that there's probably something to hide in this instance for Jordan. Yeah. It's not just like guilty by association. It appears that based on the allegations, at least, Jordan was active in the cover-up.
Yet Tim Poole, silence.
Whoopsie.
You know what the problem is, though? It's definitely not me.
Whoopsie.